So Lobby Day for the Choose Clean Water Coalition, it's like lobby days for a lot of different groups, but we pick one day a year where we bring as many of our Choose Clean Water Coalition members as we can to Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. to lobby our 49 House and Senate representatives as House and Senate members, as well as their staff, on our priorities.
The challenges that are in front of this earth are huge, and it's taking each of us as individuals and each of us collectively to come together and respond to that. That is what a democracy is about.
I think that the Choose Clean Water Coalition plays a really valuable role for several reasons. One, obviously, is advocating for federal policies that are required to restore the Chesapeake Bay. So I just think it's extraordinary every year on Lobby Day, how many people come from how many different districts.
I've participated in both in-person and in virtual lobby days. We find that when we bring our team, right, again, it's that working together to make a bigger impact. When we bring our team, each one of the folks who come from New York have had a direct connect to the funds that we're lobbying for. So they have used these programs, they have used these funds, and they've made a huge impact with the local community.
Can't go back and say, well, because we were on Capitol Hill that one day, that's what led to its passage. But I would bet that that was helpful. That was one of the pieces of the puzzle that we had to put together in order to get that legislation passed the following year. So it builds on itself. You know, Lobby Day this year builds on what we asked for last year, sometimes the year before. We're a presence. People are expecting us to be there now. It's helpful and it works.
If anybody wants to make a difference, they have to become an educated voter. They have to engage. This is where the Choose Clean Water Coalition has more impact than any other organization I know, because of its regional reach, because of its depth of reach. I mean, in each state, it has access to, you know, dozens and dozens and hundreds of groups. And so for the coalition to step into that civic engagement space is a game changer.
There's steady, consistent bipartisan support for the Chesapeake Bay cleanup. And I think that the fact that that support has stayed and even increased when many other programs have been cut is really extraordinary. And honestly, I think that's the work of Peter Marks and the Choose Clean Water Coalition, getting people from every district in to make their voice heard.
Let's give one more hand to Kara for that beautiful video. That was awesome. I'm Pam Goddard with the National Parks Conservation Association, and every year I look forward to coming to the Choose Clean Water Coalition Conference, because when I leave, I'm inspired by the tremendous work each of you are doing throughout the watershed. Your work inspires and motivates me to think big, to make new partnerships, to try new things, and to not give up when things get rough. I know our next speaker will inspire you all. Born in Harford County, Deanna Mitchell is the superintendent of the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Historical Park in Cambridge, Maryland. Deanna previously served as the site manager for the Tuskegee National Airmen Historical Park in Alabama, and as a legislative affairs specialist in the National Park Service's Office of Legislative and Congressional Affairs in Washington, D.C. She also worked at the Department of Interior, implementing the very successful Every Kids in the Park program. There are 429 national parks in our country, and only 11 commemorate women. So we are really lucky to have Deanna at the helm of Harriet Tubman. Deanna is that rare superintendent who looks at her park and she sees what's there, but she also envisions what could be there. She's a leader and a collaborator. She has worked closely with her local community to build support for her park, and she knows the real critical tie between Harriet Tubman and the landscape and the tributaries of Maryland's eastern shore. She also knows the importance of protecting clean water and fighting the threats of climate change to her park. So please join me in welcoming Deanna Mitchell.
I've got my water, right? Clean water, got my water. Well, here we are. Director Kirsten Riley, Director of Communications Drew Robinson. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Pam, for that gracious introduction. You know, I became aware of this conference last November when I met with Mariah Davis and Peter at your Annapolis office, when the park held its off-site outing arranged by our dear friend Ed Steerley of NPCA, which was quite a productive day, and it opened a number of conversations. So when I went from possibly attending the event to having a speaking gig at the event, I said to myself, now that's an upgrade, right? What an upgrade, loving it. But in all seriousness, I am truly honored to be standing among you all today. And I hope that my words can provide a little perspective about the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Historical Park in Church Creek, Maryland, how it came to be, and what we are charged with, our efforts in looking at ways to sustain the park and its resources, and our efforts in building long-standing partnerships with like-minded entities. So before I go any further, I do want to just mention one quick thing about a reference that you'll hear over and over in my remarks. So Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Historical Park. A lot of words, right? Well, within the national park system, all parks have an acronym for their name. So we are referred to as HAT2. So you take the HA from Harriet and the TU from Tubman, and you put it together, HAT2. So when you hear me reference HAT2 throughout my remarks, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not going to take up much of your time today, but to give you a snapshot of how I'm going to be approaching my remarks, I just pretend that you're watching or that you're at a horse race. I love horses, right? So you're at the Preakness, right? And and so what I'd like for you to kind of keep note of is when you hear me reference a racing term, it'll kind of give you an idea of where I am as far as, you know, where I'm at in my speech, in my delivery. So if you're not familiar with horse racing terms, that's okay, don't worry, because I'll just take my fingers and you'll know, okay, well, she's rounding the turn and all of that, right? So we'll just kind of have a little fun, kind of have a little conversation. So, and I'm off. Now that you know who I am and who I'm representing, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on the establishment of HAT2. There may be some of you here in the room that already know this information, and some of you may have been involved actively in the establishment of the park, so forgive my redundancy. I guess, first of all, how many of you have been to the historical park? Look at that. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And everyone else? Okay. Talk to your neighbors, right? Yeah. So very quickly, 2013, under the administration of President Barack Obama, he proclaimed the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Monument And that monument consists of 11,750 acres. Now, our boundary resides within the boundary of Blackwater National Wildlife Refuge. And in addition to that, thanks to the Conservation Fund, we were also donated 480 acres, which we refer to as our Jacob and Dinah Jackson home site. The following year, 2014, Congress then passed legislation through the National Defense Authorization Act establishing HAT2 and the Harriet Tubman National Historical Park in Auburn, New York. So we have a sister park. Now, I explained to you how HAT2 is referenced. Let me explain to you how our sister park is referenced. I kind of look at us as twins. So we came into this world first, HAT2. They came in about 30 seconds later, right? HAT2's taken. So what did the National Park System say? Okay, let's make this work. So they took the HAR from Harriet and the T from Tubman, and they're referred to as Hart. So HAT2 and Hart. Kind of cool. So with that establishment, of course, came funding. And also through that legislation, we have legislative partners. So Maryland Department of Natural Resources, who I think you may have heard from Josh Kurtz yesterday, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Network to Freedom program. 2017 was a landmark year because that is when we, in partnership with Maryland Department of Natural Resources, we opened the visitor center to the public on March 10th. We both, Maryland Department of Natural Resources and the National Park Service, we co-manage the visitor center through a cooperative management agreement. So that's kind of how we came to be. What we are charged with is quite a mission, but we embrace it because we are charged with telling the stories as well as revealing untold stories about the legacy of Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad and the Choptank River region through interpreting, protecting, and conserving the natural and cultural resources of the area, all while providing first-rate visitor services. Harriet Tubman's time in the area began when she was born into slavery in Church Creek, Maryland, on March 10th, 1822. So that was the significance of us having the opening on March 10th in 2017. She lived there and continued into her teenage years when she suffered a near-fatal incident at a local village store in Bucktown that impacted her for the rest of her life. And it culminated, her time in the region culminated as a young adult when she decided to seek her own freedom, emancipating herself on September 17th, 1849, at the age of 27, right out of Caroline County. The working landscapes and waterways were her friends as she navigated and used them as her sanctuary along the Underground Railroad and her missions, returning time and time again to help free others. During the years of its opening, when we first opened in 2017, from March through December, we received upwards of 100,000 visitors from over 60 countries. We are a small park, but we are very iconic. Popular visitor activities include hiking, scenic driving, attending ranger-led programs, and participating in guided tours. So now I'm picking up speed on the fourth furlong. HAT2 is referred to as a cultural resource and a natural resource. Most parks usually do not have that dual designation, but we do, and here's why. The landscapes reveal fundamental ties between people and the land and the waterways, and the material evidence of those past human activities that occurred. So that really is what makes it a cultural resource. This type of resource includes archaeological studies that provide remains of past human activity and records documenting the scientific analysis of these remains. For future development in this area, we hope to engage in ethnographic studies to determine if there was a cultural system that may have included examples of religious beliefs and subsistence activities. Now, as far as the natural resources, well, we have an abundant natural resource system there, and we hope to preserve them to reflect the landscape and ambiance that was present when Harriet Tubman lived in Maryland more than 200 years ago. The park is diverse with plant and animal habitat and high in ecological integrity. Some examples include federally listed northern long-eared bats, recovered population of bald eagles, and Delmarva fox squirrels. They were on the endangered species list. They are back. Canopied forests, wetlands, and poignantly midnight skies and silent stars. In keeping with the park mission, water resources, air quality, biological integrity, and landscape dynamics are the primary natural resources that we are focused on for sustainment opportunities. Now, since the opening of the park, an assignment of the park superintendent, me, work began immediately in building out our universal framework, which in the end is the strategy for us to sustain the park through perpetuity. The National Park Service knows a little bit about sustainability, and a critical process for this, establishing a fully fledged park unit, is the development of mandatory resource documents. To date, we have in place our natural resource condition assessment, our historical resource study, our foundation document, our cultural landscape index, our cultural landscape report, and right now we are halfway through our general management planning. That takes 3 years. We are at 1.5 years, and once we complete that, we will be considered a fully fledged park unit. These resources help the superintendent, me, to prioritize workloads and apply science-based information for practical uses for park decision-making, planning, and partnership activities, and to communicate messages about park cultural and natural resources to varied audiences. So now I'm coming up on the backstretch. So now that you have a basic overview of the historic park and its operations, I'd like to segue into another aspect of my presentation for you today. I thought I would take a look at what the National Park Service and Choose Clean Water Coalition may have in common with regards to, those little things like mission statements and strategic plans and long-range plans, so on and so forth. And I did find quite a few striking commonalities between us with references such as preserve, foster, protect, cultivate, natural and environmental resources, community improvement, community prosperity enhancement, and of course, Chesapeake Bay watershed, because our park, of course, is considered a coastal park, and we are a gateway community along the watershed. I believe our most direct shared goal is what each of us have been in the business of, and that is clean water. The National Park Service strongly believes, and I quote from our webpage, "Water is life. We need clean water for our health and the health of our communities, our ecosystems, and even our economies." Since the establishment in 1972 of the Clean Water Act by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, the National Park Service, now we're talking about a little over 50 years ago, we've made tremendous strides in preserving and protecting clean water in our natural park system. The work in this area is nonstop as we continue to address discharge from factories emerging contaminants such as pharmaceuticals in our waters, in our waste, plastics in our waterways, and runoffs from agricultural fields. It is built into our DNA to continuously reassess the integrity of the nation's waters. For you, just look at you. Choose Clean Water Coalition. You're celebrating 15 years, your 15-year anniversary. I applaud you. You have, in a very short time, amassed an amazing membership of nearly 300 nonprofit organizations along the Chesapeake Bay watershed, covering 6 states, including DC, and have had much success and continue to be successful in your work due to your members. And I quote from your webpage, "The power of the coalition comes from the work and dedication of our members who, while working on different issues, come together for one common goal, clean water." I'm aware that the coalition has had and continues to collaborate with our National Park Service, Chesapeake Gateways and Water Trails Network Office in Annapolis, led by Superintendent Wendy O'Sullivan. I know Wendy and her team cast a wide net in their role as lead for the National Park Service to help connect people to the natural and cultural heritage along the Chesapeake watershed. Next week, I will be traveling to Hampton, Virginia with Wendy to attend the Chesapeake Gateways Communities 2024 pilot training program. The purpose of the program will allow participants to better understand how to enhance the discovery, experiences, and connections between visitors and the natural, cultural, and recreational opportunities in a way that supports positive outcomes within the communities. So now I'm taking the clubhouse turn. The Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad stories are and will continue to be journeys of research and discovery, partnerships with state and local governments, nonprofits, and academic institutions, as well as residents and historic site owners within park boundaries, maximize the opportunities for ongoing collaboration, seeking groundbreaking ways to approach restoration efforts across the board. We also work closely with partners outside of our park boundaries who we, as the National Park Service, have contract agreements with that pertain to the entire Northeast region. These are some examples. For instance, in 2017, when the park opened, there was an archaeological study that was conducted on our 480 acres that I mentioned earlier, and it did produce results. We were very proud of what came out of the study, but they weren't able to complete it. So in 2019, I put in a project in our system, our project information system, for funding to see if we could have a phase 2 of the project, and we did get the funding. So in 2023, plans were made to conduct phase 2 of our study, which began the end of 2023. It will go throughout all of 2024 and into 2025. And that is in partnership between our Northeast Archaeological Resource Program with the Maryland Historical Trust. Another example about our partnership is a current project. It's called Preserving Coastal Parklands. And it is a 1-year study that's headed up by our Northeast Ocean and Coastal Resources Program with partners from the University of Virginia, the Nature Conservancy, EA Engineering, Science and Technology Incorporated, and Engineering with Nature. And that project will focus on developing natural infrastructures to address effects of sea level rise at the Jacob and Deanna Jackson home site, the 480 acres. And then one final example, this is something we're very proud of. We're finished with this project, but it was entitled Coastal Hazards and Sea Level Rise Asset Vulnerability Assessment. So the park worked with Western Carolina University and the National Park Service Climate Change Response Program to analyze and evaluate the exposure of buildings and transportation assets to identify coastal hazards and climate change factors. Those are just a few examples. But now, for me, I'm heading to home, guys. I'm over here, right? I'm not at the finish line, but I'm heading home. But you know, being here today with you, this is community engagement, and it's perhaps one of the most rewarding aspects of my job, because one, I'm a people person, right? Two, I'm drawn towards like-minded people, organizations, projects, etc. And three, being in the community is the right thing to do as a public servant and steward of these great lands and waterways. You know, last month I was invited to attend a community meeting in Cambridge at the newly opened Harriet Tubman Freedom Center, where Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division and U.S. Attorney Eric Barron for the District of Maryland met with citizens of the community as well as civil rights stakeholders and local leaders to reiterate their commitment to promoting justice, including environmental justice and equity for the 9 counties on the Eastern Shore, with a strong emphasis on under-resourced communities. The session was not long enough because conversations continued long after the meeting was over. So it's good to see folks coming together, having conversations under the same premise of what your coalition represents as diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice for everyone to enjoy a healthy and prosperous community. Just a month ago, I finally was able to meet Mr. Vince Leggett, founder and president of the Blacks of the Chesapeake Foundation, Incorporated, and I was truly impressed with the work the foundation has done and continues to do for decades in getting out the untold stories of history and contributions made by African Americans on the Chesapeake Bay relating to maritime industries and culture. His book, Chesapeake Bay Through Ebony Eyes, is one giant oral history of people and voices whose ancestors, watermen, skipjacks, other specialties, eked out a living for over 200 years on the bay, and how their lives were transformed by being on the water. You know, Pam mentioned that I'm from Harford County, and I'm a Marylander, and I've come full circle. My husband was career Air Force, so we've, oh my goodness, we've lived everywhere. And I'm back home, I'm back in Maryland, but I grew up in a small harbor town, and right where the foot of the Chesapeake Bay meets the mouth of the Susquehanna River. And I remember as a child, I grew up, it was 10 of us. And my dad and my mom would give us our chores, and we would just, you know, we've all been there. Oh, I want to go outside and play. And I remember my dad, he just looked at us, each one of us. We were kind of wondering what's going to happen next. But he would look in our eyes, and it only took him one time to say this to us. And he said, listen, let me tell you something. You guys got to understand something. Many hands make light work. We were like, many hands make, okay. So in other words, you know, of course, he was telling us, if you all come together, you do what you need to do, you have the time that you want to have to go out and play, right? And so we embraced that. We were like, okay, let's figure out how we can do it. And it was kind of cool because, you know, I had sisters and brothers. Brothers are stronger, right, than us. But we had a routine that we came up with, and even though we may have had different ways to approach something, we kind of had the same results. But we knew what he meant. Many hands make light work. And I wish that people of our nation and of our world can embrace that, right? Because we do need each other, I think. So now I am crossing the finish line. And my final point is that I hope you were able to see the thread that I was trying to weave through my remarks of how closely we are connected. What we are doing, examples of like Vince Leggett and you and the Park Service and the community in Cambridge. And I can reference so many others, but time does not allow me to do that. We, like I said earlier, I think we all need each other in life, and that includes our livelihoods. So I hope that this is not the last opportunity for us to come together. As I leave you today, let's strive to build upon our shared goals and love for the Chesapeake Bay and its many rivers and streams and the history of the region so that we can leave a proud legacy that all Marylanders and citizens from the other states along the watershed, present and future, can embrace a legacy that can endure. Let's make light work. Let's make clean water. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deanna. We're so glad to have you. It is my privilege to welcome up our Virginia State Lead, Pat Calvert from Virginia Conservation Network, and Maya Alexander from the Alliance for the Shenandoah Valley.
Pat, thanks for joining.
Hey, Maya. Hey, I was going to ask you. Let me check my notes real quick.
Promise we're prepared.
What's been your favorite experience during this year's Choose Clean Water extravaganza?
Ooh, that's hard. All the sessions I went to were great today, or great the whole week, really. But Jeopardy, I think, is a fan favorite.
Very good.
How about you?
Oh, funny you ask.
We got the itis.
I really feel fortunate to have updated my paid subscription to the Peter Marks fan club so that I can continue to receive exclusive in-person events and Marks merch. Say, Maya, have you any guesses as to the location of the 2025 Choose Clean Water Coalition Conference?
That's a great question, Pat. I'll let y'all know. It is in this envelope right here.
Ooh, gosh.
I ain't saying nothing.
Oh, Maya, mightn't you offer a tiny hint? The suspense is maddening.
Okay, let's see. Well, this modern municipality is sited on the historical Tutelo Sapani land. Incorporated since 1916, the site of our 2015 conference was once known as Rocktown. Need another hint?
Please, Maya, don't tease. Set the buzzing hive mind before you at rest.
Okay. The city of great repute has become a bastion of ethnic and linguistic diversity in recent years. English is the second language for more than one of every 3 school students here. In fact, software company Rosetta Stone, ring a bell, was founded here in 1992, and the multilingual Welcome Your Neighbors yard sign originated here in 2016.
I just happen to have one.
Oh, how convenient. I know, for the folks who can't see over there.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Really still? Okay. Well, as if you hadn't already guessed it, our next annual rendezvous is slated to occur in what is familiarly called the Friendly City and is, if somehow by this point not clear and obvious to all those within earshot, quaintly nestled in the heart of the breadbasket of Virginia, amid stately, treed peaks, vast swaths of national forests and national park lands, and the iconic spring-fed Potomac River headwaters lauded through song by the likes of none other than Mr. Jonathan Denver himself.
You mean a song's best friend, the John Denver?
One and the same.
Yeah, I got diddly.
Still? All right. Indeed, this metropolitan oasis is more than just a college town. It is a 2-college town, though it goes without saying at this point, it is my privilege and honor to announce that the 2025 Choose Clean Water Coalition Conference will take place in an idyllic locale endearingly known as being friendly by nature.
Yeah, I'm on empty.
Y'all
Bet
got it?
0.
Still? All right, well, if you still haven't guessed it yet, you will, of course, immediately recognize that it is the most dissembly not Harrisburg.
Not Harrisburg. Got it.
Yep. Yes, friends and fellow water lovers, let us celebrate our future reconvening in the culturally distinct and naturally bountiful destination. Ready, drum roll? Do you know? It's in Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Whoop, whoop.
Talk about a tough act to follow. I don't have a whole script, but I do have some exciting news regarding our silent auction. We have some winners. I hope they don't have buyer's remorse because it's too late. Starting off with our family fun camping. This is going to be the one that has the two-person tent and the no, this is the 6-person tent, and then the camping stove. It's the one and only Lisa Alexander. Yeah. Our next winner is for the weekend getaway, which is the 2-person tent and then the 2 awesome chairs. Actually, I know Logan very well. I can't pronounce your last name, so I'm not going to try. Logan, the AV guy. Thank you, Logan. And last but not least, we have the awesome canoe and angler's vest. And I've already spoken with her at length. There's no buyer's remorse at all. Where is Autumn Crow? Yeah. We're shipping a canoe to West Virginia. We expect some photos. There are our winners. Thank you all for participating, and maybe we'll be back again next year. We'll have to see. Thanks again.
Yeah, Pat and Maya, you guys just raised the bar for every announcement of the next location, so kudos to you all. How was everyone's sessions this morning? Everyone had a fun time at Jeopardy? Heard it got a little contentious. Everyone be nice to Drew. He's doing his best. Congratulations to Kyle, who won Jeopardy. Kyle Hart, I don't know where he is. Is he over there? Somewhere. I don't see no one wants to root for Kyle. Oh, there he is. There's Kyle. Congratulations, Kyle. So I know we have afternoon sessions after this, so don't scurry away quite yet. We have some great sessions coming up. But this is the last time that we'll all be together right now. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for taking the time to be here. Some of you guys have been here for 3 days, and that is not an insignificant amount of time, especially for our members who are doing a really amazing work and doing that hard work on the ground. And the fact that you're willing to take that time to be here, to see your peers and to network and learn and be with us is huge. And so I just want to thank you all so much for that. If you were here on Monday, in one of those 3 days, like some of us here, you heard Kristen Saunders talk a little bit about that secret sauce and what it means for success. And I actually get asked that a lot about the coalition. What makes us so successful, after 15 years? We heard Hillary talk about, we didn't think this was going to work. There are a lot of people that thought this was destined to fail. And what makes people willing to spend 3 days here, right? What makes us so successful in our advocacy work? And it truly is, as Deanna mentioned, our members, you all. You are the reason that we have increased funding for EPA Chesapeake Bay program every year. When the coalition was founded, EPA Chesapeake Bay program was funded at $30.9 million. It is now funded at $92 million. And that is because of you all, We've created the Chesapeake Wild Program, a whole new grant program for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service dedicated to habitat, wildlife. We've built this Young Professionals of Color mentorship program. We've passed state legislation and increased funding for ag cost share programs, stormwater. We've advanced DEIJ throughout the watershed. We have our DEIJ in action guide. We've increased the communications capacity, advocacy capacity, and we have become one of the most well-respected advocacy organizations on the Hill and in the state level because of you all, right? It's not us, it's you. Having 300 members and celebrating 301 members is incredible, but that is nothing if you guys don't show up, right? If you're not participating and you're not engaged. And you are. And so I just want to thank you so much for making us as successful as we are. I also get asked, how do we do it all, right? How do we get these 300 people to stay engaged and to want to do this work? And it's because what we have here is 15 years of trust building. We have faced incredible challenges together. We've battled out disagreements together, right? There's some old timers in here that will hear the words nutrient trading and want to run because that actually almost broke some of the coalition members. Things like, stormwater stream restoration, solar siting. We lean into these difficult conversations, right? Because we have to. And what happens when you get in the ring and you get through the muck and you hash things out or you work towards a common goal, when the dust settles, you have this amazing feeling of trust and strength because you just went through that together. Even at the end, if we still disagree, you at least find some level of respect in each other. And I think because we are willing to do that and willing to tackle those challenges and lean in, we have created this incredible foundation of trust. And we're going to need to lean into that more and more, and those relationships now more than ever. We're going to need you. We're going to need your support and trust over definitely the next 6 months, into the next couple of years and beyond, as we approach 2025 and beyond. We had amazing conversations on Monday with a lot of you in the room about what the future of this restoration effort looks like. And as I said in my opening remarks, the future is in this room. And we have to be part of that conversation, and we have to make sure that we are leaning into those difficult conversations. We are pushing the bar, and we are elevating the bar. And so you're going to be hearing a lot from us over the next 6 months. And please, work with us, be with us on that. Don't let this be the last time that we hear from you, or then we see you until next year in Harrisonburg. Let's keep this momentum going. As much as you can. I know, again, you guys are so busy doing the amazing work out in the field. Join our work group calls. Come to our lobby day. You're allowed to lobby. It's okay. You're not going to lose your 501c3, I promise. Come visit us in Annapolis or invite us out to where you are. We love traveling the watershed. Sarah has spent almost a month in West Virginia one time just because it was just so much to do out there, and she loved it, right? I think, yeah, you had a great time. But we really do. We love getting out. We love seeing you all. We love traveling the watershed. So, tell us when you're around. We'll meet you where you are, or, come to us. Again, our strength, going back to that secret sauce, that 15 years of success. Part of that trust is also the trust and faith that you put in us, in the staff, and in the coalition itself, and I just sometimes find that so amazing. The trust and faith that you have in our amazing state leads, Robin, Maria, Pat, Marissa, Michael, and Amy. I just want to give you guys a big, incredible round of applause. We would not be able to do anything without you guys. Some of the hardest working people that I know, our state lead organizations and our state leads. My incredible team, Peter, Sarah, Kara, and Drew. I had a dream team. Honestly, I don't know, any group better. Especially, I want to just take a serious moment just to really thank Drew. This conference is not easy to put on. To organize an event for 300 people, coordinating registration, sponsorships, field trips, the RFPs, everything, scholarships, a new silent auction, swag, flair, all these new things. And he took it on head on. And so just want to give Drew a really big round of applause for the incredible work that he's done. And Amy and Logan, the AV guy. Thank you guys so much. Both Amy and Logan have been with us pretty much from the beginning. Logan actually left our host organization, National Wildlife Federation. He still comes back to do the AV for this event. He takes time off of his actual job to come and do this. So I'm really glad you won a silent auction item. Thank you for bidding. Again, while I am standing before you right now, my feet hurt, my legs hurt, I am mentally and emotionally exhausted. I am also so energized, going into the rest of the year. I need this event. I know a lot of people need this event to keep going because our work is hard, but we're gonna continue to be successful. We're gonna accomplish great things this year and into the future. And I'm just so excited to have you guys along for the ride. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of the sessions, and we're gonna see you guys in Harrisonburg.